good afternoon, or good evening. What's going on? Team, lovely to have your company here on this beautiful, what is it? Thursday morning or Wednesday afternoon if you're on this side of the world. We're going to be starting this episode in just 2 minutes, guys. We are live across all of the normal platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching this one live. I hope you've had a beautiful start to this week, and we're getting started in just 2 minutes. Guys, get across to the comments there. Let us know you're in here watching live so I can see who's coming in and who's getting involved. This is going to be probably a short podcast where I'm literally, there's no notes. I'm just shooting from the hip on something that I've been thinking about this morning, and it's a bit of a mindset thing that I think that we can all benefit from. So let us know if you're coming into this one live, guys. We're starting in 1 minute, and then we're going to rip straight in. So we got the crew, the regulars, the legends. Hello, Jace. What's going on, mate? Good morning. Hope the recovery's come along since your injury. All right, brother. Hello, Jen. How are you, mate? Lovely to have your company. Good morning, Claire. What's going on, girlfriend? Hopefully I'm going to see you on a call tonight. Hopefully. To all of our ladies, before we start the episode, tonight's call is going to be at 8 p.m. Sydney time. We did one with the men on Tuesday, and it was really good. We had about 10 guys come along to the coaching call. This is not a huddle, just for a heads up, okay? This is not a huddle. It's 3 a.m. my time, okay? Coach is making himself available because this is important to be able to come in and connect, okay? So I want to know what's holding you back, what do you have questions about, and then I'm going to solve those things, okay? I don't care if there is 1 or 100. I don't care if you've been in the academy for 1 week or you've been in the academy for 3 years. It doesn't matter. Get your butt to that call if you can. And when it comes to our UK ladies, we're going to try to do something in the opposite time zone to make it a little bit easier for you shortly. Hello, Kenny. Hazel and I are here. Good to have your company, guys. We're starting in a moment. Nikki Friends here, of course, the legend, as is Lauren. Good morning, people. Hello, Chris. How are you, mate? Lovely to see you the other night. Hello, Toddy. I saw that you tried to come into the coaching call, but must have been not able to connect, dude. So I hope things are well, buddy. All right, guys, let's get started on another episode of the podcast. If you do watch this one on replay, please hashtag replay in the comments so that we know you've been here on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Maybe I need to switch up the intro on this podcast because we talk a hell of a lot, predominantly around mindset on this podcast. Because at the end of the day, it is the evolution of your mindset which is going to determine whether or not you're successful. Check this out. So I listen to a bunch of podcasts, particularly when I'm running or training, and I heard a stat this morning. Check this out. Between 0 and 5% of people that start a health journey on their own fail. Okay? I'll flip it up the other way. Are successful. 95, it's between 95 and 100. The actual amount varies. Between 95 and 100% of people that start a journey on their own fail. Why is it? Because weight loss is not the challenge. Maintaining the weight loss and evolving your identity, that's the tough part. So these stats are damning. And I'm just like, I get really emotionally involved in our coaching because it just means so much to me when someone breaks through. Someone like Nikki Friend, who's just completely changed his life. It's just like, it just gives me such fulfillment. But one of the real challenges, the negatives of fitness coaching is that it's just really, really hard emotionally when you see people continuously giving up on themselves. Just continuously. It's just so inherent to health transformations that even with a coach, check this out, and this is the second stat that was quoted, even with a coach, the success rate long term is about 40%. 40%. That means people that come in, they get a coach, but then go back to their old ways afterwards is 60%. I mean, doesn't that suck? That just sucks so much to me. You've made a commitment for, say, 6 months, you've got yourself going, you've got some early results, but because you didn't follow through over the long term, and the big thing here is the changing of your habits and your mindset around it, that's the reason that it didn't last. Now, if you've got a good coach, the numbers start to increase, and we'd certainly be above what is baseline, but it's just like really frustrating. And so I've been kind of putting my head around this for the last sort of few hours. And what I wanted to do was just have a conversation around this idea of forcing a result, right? And using your willpower. So let me give you a bit of background to why I'm doing this. This morning, the State of Origin was on. For most of you guys, it was obviously, it was Thursday night, right? And for me, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning anyway, so it's kind of cool that I just have to get up and instead of coaching, just watch the footy. And obviously, New South Wales got the win, which was good, and it put me in a good mood. And then I decided straight after that to go and run a half marathon. It is the longest run that I've ever done in my entire life outside. As you guys know, there is a bunch of people inside Better Body Academy that are training to do a marathon, a half marathon, a 10K run, or indeed a 3.5K run. So I got up this morning and did a half marathon on a random Wednesday morning. I've had a fair bit of time off training because I rolled my ankle at the start of June, and there's been a bunch of guys and girls in our program that have been able to stick to the training schedule because they've been injury-free and they've built their cardiovascular fitness over a period of time. And I've got to congratulate those guys. They've done incredibly well. But according to the plan that was laid out in front of me, I'm behind. And so every day I'm having a conversation with my missus who's sitting in the background here saying, what's going on with marathon? Like, how are we going? What's happening? How's the training going? What are we doing? Because she knows that we're only now 8 to 10 weeks from the actual run. So I got up this morning and I forced the result. And the reason that I forced the result is because for 3 weeks, due to this injury, I've been out of momentum. I'm huge on this idea of momentum. What does that actually mean? Momentum can be forward or backwards. For me, the speed of which you're moving, that never ever matters. But the direction that you're moving definitely matters. If you're not moving towards your goals, if you're coming stationary, I want you to think about that like a big ship in a harbour somewhere in Sydney, and it's come to a complete stop. It requires so much activation energy for you to get that shit back into momentum again. If every time you go through these seasonal periods of where you stop and you say, all right, this is time for kind of working on my work or my family or whatever, and then 6 months later you stop your fitness, so you're in these patches of which you're trying to be really intense for a period, and then you're stopping. And then each time you're trying to pick back up again, it's such a bloody struggle because you're out of momentum. You're like needing to clutch start a car. I'm also big on this idea of compassion. And what I mean by compassion is I want to acknowledge that I don't think there's probably a person in our academy that's not juggling a hell of a lot. You've got your family to worry about. You've got the bills to worry about. You've got your own health to worry about. You've got, the list goes on. Loans and it's an endless list of responsibilities. So I'm all for the idea of sometimes we just need to offer ourselves some compassion. I want you to think of your life a little bit like a bowling alley, okay? But this bowling alley has bumpers on it, like when the kids bowl. And on one side of the bowling alley, you've got the bumper that is compassion, The other side of the bowling alley, you've got the bumper that is discipline. Okay? Sometimes as your life ball is traveling along, you really need to exercise a little bit more of the discipline component. Sometimes you really need to exercise a little bit more of the compassion component. And this is where you have to be a little bit self-aware on your journey to understand, maybe this is a time when you can just slow things down a little bit, right? You don't have to be training 17 times a week. It's okay to just cool your jets while you deal with something else in your life, but never get totally out of momentum. Now, the reason that I got up this morning and just decided to run is because I needed to kick my own ass with a little bit of discipline. Because I know that if I spend too much time in compassion and procrastination, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to get out of momentum. And I see this all the time with clients who they're so caught in thought, trying to think their way out of whatever problem that they're struggling with. I'm just going to tell you guys, no one ever changed their life by thinking. Thinking has to be paired with doing. And the more time we spend in actually thinking, procrastination plays a role in our survival, okay? It plays a role. The reason that procrastination plays a role is because when we decide, I'm going to do a marathon, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to go for a new job, when we decide those things, there's this fear response that comes up in us. Does that make sense? Like everyone that's committed to something knows that the moment they commit to it, right, this fear response comes up in them. That's because the thing that you want is outside of your comfort zone, right? So it's natural. If it's outside of your comfort zone, the brain detects that this is a threat to your danger. So you say, I'm going to lose weight. And then that raises, oh shit, she's going to lose weight. He's going to lose weight. That's out of my comfort zone. Or I'm going to go to the gym today. I've never been to the gym before. This stress response comes up. And so what the body does is just says, yeah, you're going to do the gym, or you're going to lose weight, but we'll start tomorrow. And instantly postponing it that little bit of time is kind of the equivalent of like pouring cold water on it, on the stress. You say, analyze yourself for a moment, just rather than listening passively, ask yourself, do you do that? Do you mentally commit to something and you say, I'm going to do this thing, but I'll start tomorrow, or but I'll start next week, or but I'll do it when I've finished this major project, or but I'll do it when I have more money, or I'm going to get a new job once I finish this job, or that's the pattern. And by delaying the start, what we're doing is pouring cold water on the stress that we feel about starting. So when you feel that, if you understand the anatomy of procrastination and being out of momentum, you got to remember that that's an inherent survival mechanism. That's all that's happening. The brain's just trying to say, Claire, stay in the comfort zone. Because in the comfort zone, nothing can threaten you. In the comfort zone, you feel confident. I want to talk to you about what the difference between confidence and self-belief is. Confidence, people think that they all want more confidence. But confidence happens when you're knowledgeable in the comfort zone. So there are a lot of people that would say, look, I'm not a confident person, but when I go to work, I'm confident. That's because you're an expert at whatever it is that you do. Okay? So you're confident inside of your sphere. But the moment that you leave the comfort zone, that confidence disappears. That's because what you're actually wanting to create is not confidence. You're wanting to create self-belief. Self-belief is different from confidence in the following way. Confidence happens when you do the thing that you're an expert at. For example, Nick's an expert at taking photos. He's confident at taking photos because he knows how to take photos, right? Whereas put Nick in a gym the first day, he was not confident because it was outside of his comfort zone. However, even though there was this fear that was within him, he had enough self-belief, probably from life experience over a period of time, where even though he left the comfort zone, even though he left what he's confident in, for him to then go and ply his trade and learn the gym, he was able to leave that comfort zone because he had self-belief. Self-belief is built when you constantly leave the comfort zone. When I said about, in the title of this video, using force to create momentum, you literally build self-belief by forcing yourself to do things, and rather than using procrastination or fear or pain as the reason to stay stuck, you actually start to leverage it. You twist it the other way as the reason to get going. I just want to reaffirm that I am scared shitless of running a marathon. Like, scared shitless. Like, to think about how sore my knees are and my ankles are right now, and to the fact that it took me 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, that basically means for me to run a marathon, I'm going to be doubly as sore. I'm going to have knees that won't work for probably a week, and it's going to take me somewhere close to 4.5, 5 hours. That's so far out of my comfort zone right now. It's double the longest that I've ever run once. Like, it is scary. But if I don't force myself right now to get uncomfortable, any future that lies outside of my comfort zone, I am never going to be able to get. And so bringing this kind of background to our listeners, our clients, I wanted to come on and just say, I think a lot of the times we're trying to think our way out of our struggle. Here's a classic example. I've been thinking about tracking my nutrition for a year. I've been looking in the mirror thinking, I'd probably like to get a little bit lower body fat percentage. Then I come up with all the different reasons, right? It's too difficult. My missus loves food and she loves cooking, so it's really hard for me to measure out all the different things that are in the thing. I have too much of a social life. And then I started to justify it out by saying, I don't actually care about it that much. So I had to force myself to do it. Force myself to do something that I didn't want to do. I've done it. I've lost 2 kilos in 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, composition starts to come back. Like, you know what to do. Coaching is it's not primarily about getting more information, right? It's about application. It's about getting uncomfortable. And if you're in a coaching program to stay comfortable, it's going to be a real disappointment for both coach and client. The people that are really, really successful in our community, and all the people that I'm constantly rattling off, they're doing it because they don't feel comfortable. They're getting outside of that. And I think sometimes it just helps to be reminded of the fact that sometimes you just need to force yourself. So maybe let's wind this podcast out by saying, what is one thing? Now, I'm not saying that when you're 30 kilos overweight, you should go and run a marathon. Don't twist the words. What I am saying is that if you've been, going to bed at 5,000 steps and you've been saying, I'm going to start hitting 10,000 steps, but you keep going to bed at 5,000 steps. Like, are you waiting for permission? Are you waiting for validation? What are you actually waiting for to do the thing? You got to force yourself to do the thing. Final point is, if you want something that you don't currently have, it's because it's at this point, it's beyond you. Whether it's money, relationship, health, it's beyond you because you haven't yet got the mindset and the skills to as the exchange for actually having it. That's not a criticism, because it's the same thing for me. It's the same thing for me for everything in my life. That's when we're walking through the mud and things feel difficult. It's because we don't yet have the mindset and the skill set to have the thing yet. And the reason that it feels like such a trudging effort, it's like, fuck, this is hard. Yes, it's hard, because it's valuable to you. And if it wasn't valuable to you, it wouldn't be hard. If it was more of what you already had, it wouldn't be hard. So maybe a little bit of tough love this morning, guys. Ask yourself the question, what's one thing that I need to start using force in my life to create momentum around this thing? And on the other side of the application of that force, there is a result. That result creates momentum. The momentum creates self-belief, and that self-belief starts to drip back down into all areas of your life, which is ultimately what we're trying to create when we're trying to create success across multiple areas. Because I hope this has been beneficial in some way. Sometimes it's like trying to take abstract thoughts in my mind and try to work out how to explain them. This is one of the great things about getting outside and doing exercise outside, is that you get, I don't know about you guys, but do you get these little thought stimuli that just come to you when you're walking or you're running or you're training? Another good benefit of exercise outside. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully it's been helpful. It's been the Better Body Academy podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.